Okay, so I'm going to show you a slightly different version of the site model that you have right now. So this is a working file that I prepared for the real project with adapted pavilions, different play equipment, some more naturalized elements, and some custom benches. Over here we have a basketball court and a surface over top for an ice rink. And I'll go through each element and tell you what was imported and what I changed. So the existing picnic pavilions from the original model, I hope we can all agree that those are awful. If anyone looked at them and were like, yeah, that's fine, then please go wash your eyes out with soap, because the only thing worse than bad design is nobody gives a shit design. Our public spaces need to be better than the off-the-shelf bad components and Home Depot builder-grade aesthetics. Jan Gehl once said, with regards to the fact that Copenhagen sidewalks are paved with granite, that if you want to look at what society values, just look where they invest their money. Let this little tirade be a plea to you to always advocate for as high quality public realm design as you can possibly get, because we're creating spaces that are important to the human condition and their connection with nature. Remember the ultimate purpose here. This is a park within the city of the future. If we're still allowing cheap crap to populate our public spaces in the future, then that's not a future I'm looking forward to. So these play equipment are straight up imported from the SketchUp warehouse. In retrospect, I probably should have just imported them directly to Lumion, but nevertheless, here they are. Over here are some naturalized logs in the play area. And look, I didn't even finish this edge. This is another example of strategic targeted modeling. If it doesn't impact my final view, then I don't need to model it. This basketball court is from the SketchUp warehouse also, but I altered it so that the sides have open panels. I basically just exploded it, removed the pieces I didn't want, and regrouped it back together. Then I added a small thin poly surface over the top and put it on its own layer called ice so that I could apply a material in Lumion later. We'll get to the workflow of assigning objects to layers by materiality in another video following this one. The only element that I modeled from scratch is this concrete and wood bench that I've installed in the corner of the pavilion. I'm going to walk you through that process now. It's really simple. So I start by drawing a polyline from the midpoints of the concrete base. And this is just going off of what I want to achieve in the view. So I just wanted concrete base and a wood top. So I offset this by 2 feet. I just had to check my units here. I remember this is in feet and inches. So a standard bench width in millimeters would be around 600 mils. I'll cap off the ends with lines and join it into a closed polyline and then extrude it to around 18 inches high or 450 millimeters. That's a pretty standard bench height. Next, I'll offset the polyline that we used to extrude to the inside by around 2 inches. And then explode that and deselect the end pieces and join them back together again. I'll use the outside polyline as a target and then use the command EX for extend. And then I can just click on these lines to bring them all the way to the edge. Now I'll use the command move edge and just grab the edge of the poly surface at the base and match it up to the inside line to create an angled front. I'll repeat that on the other side and all the way around the other 2 sides. For the top, I'll change layer onto the wood layer, and then I'll use extrusion from 3 points to make a piece of dimensional lumber around 3.5 inches wide and 1.5 inches high. I wasn't doing high design for this view. I just wanted a basic wood surface that would have spaces in between. So I'll copy this piece over and then move it about 1/4 inch over to create a gap. Now I can draw a line all the way to the end and measure this space between the beginning of the wood element and the next element. I'm going to use the divide command on this line, so div, D-I-V, to divide the line, and I can select by length into exactly 3 3/4 increments. Notice how we have points here now. So now I can use the linear array tool, and I'm going to guess around 30 elements, but I can always increase or decrease as needed if this isn't right. I'll use the points as my distance between elements, and now you can see it's all laid out pretty much perfectly. So I'll group this seating topper and then copy it over from this corner to this one, rotate it, and then I'll copy and fill in the end of the bench that needs to be finished. I'll just ungroup it and delete the pieces that I don't need and regroup the elements that should be associated with each other. Now I can select all of the wood seating and lift it by around 1/2 inch to create a space between the concrete and the wood. Normally we would have fasteners here, but in this view, it's not like we're going to see that detail, so I wouldn't bother actually modeling it. And last, I'll set the concrete base, offset it and move it by 6 inches here and 6 inches here. So if you need help modeling a specific component on your projects, reach out via Miro or email and I can try to do a demo for you. It will help if you draw a section and plan first as a sketch of what you're trying to create. And then you can kind of figure out what tools and commands you could use to duplicate the shape in Rhino. In the same way that we have been analyzing precedents and visuals, try to analyze the components that you want to design in your head. Are they extrusions, sweeps, revolutions, or freeform? Do they have a continuous sectional element that you could draw and then use that as a base to extrude or sweep? What materials are involved and how do they need to fit together? If you have an idea of where you want to go but don't know how to get there, reach out and let me know.